right, welcome back to Mapping Top Gear. We're looking at episode 7 today, and I've got a bit of a different camera angle. I don't know if this works or if it's weird. I got my camera over here, but I look at the screen over here, which is what you guys see. So, it might be weird, but my wife she wanted to move around the screens earlier this week, and so to be honest, I'm too lazy to rearrange everything. So we're going to keep it like this for right now. So we're looking at episode 7, and to be honest, it's a bit of a short episode, or it's going to be a short episode as far as our Mapping Top Gear series goes. This episode is kind of structured around economical cars and hybrids and kind of electric cars. Well, not electric cars, but more economical cars. And so there's really only one place that we're going to add on here, and it's this very first segment where Hammond is driving a Saab. And of course, Saab no longer exists nowadays, but as far as things that we're going to add to our map, it's only going to be this first little section, this first little segment. So we will kind of tune in here and let's see if we can figure out where he is driving this thing.
Because it's a Saab, because it's Swedish, it's that bit more cuddly, more friendly than those more aggressive German competitors. And that makes it the perfect car to look at in tonight's caring, sharing Top Gear. But don't worry, there's going to be no nonsense with spinning wheels or any of that, because I'm going to drive this in an eco-friendly manner. This 2-litre T model may have 175 horsepower and do 0 to 60 in 8.5 seconds. But don't worry, because I'm going to travel to work following the government's official guidelines on commuting in an eco-friendly manner.
Okay, so he says he's going to go to work using the government's guidelines. So I assume he's leaving from a small town going into London, maybe?
We should, and I quote, steady our speed. They suggest 50 miles an hour as being the most economical, and in fact it probably is. Righty-ho, then 50 miles an hour it is. Now obviously it's capable of far, far more. We could do speeds in excess of, it could certainly do 60, but that'd be crazy. But if you are going to let rip and explore speeds beyond 60, make sure you do it before you get to that great government invention, the bus lane. Here we go. Bus lane. But apparently as many as 2 buses an hour come along here, so that's worth cordoning off 50% of the available road space permanently. Great thinking.
I will say it is pretty ridiculous, the bus lane. I don't know how bad it is or if it's bad in London now. I assume it's maybe just the same, but if you're driving in a lot of traffic downtown and there's a whole lane, like if it used to be only 2 lanes going per direction and one lane has been kind of sectioned off just for buses, that is pretty ridiculous. I know, like, in the city that I live, like, there are some bus lanes, but the traffic is not ridiculous downtown. But in a city like London, a big city, that's a tough decision. I don't know why they did that. I guess it was just to encourage more people to use the public transportation. Well, now that I think about it, that definitely is probably definitely the reason.
Pulling forwards, changed. That's it. That was my 8-second launch window. Of course, it is only a rumor, and his...
I think we have our confirmation of where he's driven to, which is London. The only problem is, like, I tried asking AI a couple of screenshots as far as where he started, and I was not able to find a specific city. I was not able to pinpoint a specific spot. So I might have to ask people that live in the United Kingdom if you recognize anything back in this part, like if anything here, let me go back to the city or the little town that he starts in. Like, does this look familiar to anybody? If it does, let me know, and I'll add it to the maps. Otherwise, I don't really have anything to go off of or to focus on besides where he gets stopped here in London. I'm going to try to pinpoint exactly where he gets stopped. Well, I have paused it at this screenshot right here, and I was going to see if I could try to find a specific intersection that this is based off of. AI told me to look in Piccadilly. And so the Piccadilly area in London is kind of right here. So I'm trying to zoom in and see if I can find a specific spot. I see the yellow cross lines in the middle of the intersection, so I'm trying to use that. Yeah, I'm not finding it. Clearly this looks. I mean, London is bad. This is the problem. Is I am not familiar with London, and I know a lot of these segments they're driving in London, so it's going to be very hard for me to even be able to pinpoint specific spots. I was looking here, like there's two white buildings. There's two white buildings here, and we've got the same markings here, but this traffic is going this way, and Hammond would have been going that way, unless it's the other way. No, because this building is different than this building. Well, hang on. I don't think this is it because it looks like this kind of curves to the left a little bit on down, and this does not look like it does that. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe there's 6 stories there. Although, again, this does not really match up with this. Although that looks very... Well... No, I don't think. Well, there's a light right here. What about markings on the ground? Can we use markings on the ground? I don't think this is it. There's this Paddy Power bookmaker that I did see, and I can search that, but I wasn't really finding anything in Piccadilly that matched up. Plus, I mean, a place like a bookmaker, like that's just a sports book, right? I assume it's just like a sports book. I mean, a place like that easily could have moved in 20 years. I mean, it would only be one of these three, right? That's in a decent spot. No, it's not, because there's traffic going the opposite direction. So it doesn't match up either. So I feel like the Paddy Power would have already been... I think it would have already moved or would have left that location. Again, comments are welcome. I will actively update this map. If you recognize this location or...
Which is great. Lovely. There's a rumour here in the say that the traffic lights have been changed to avoid too much congestion in areas during times of roadworks. Well, that's it.
Or this location... Feel free to leave me a comment. I'm going to credit the Piccadilly area for now, just to go ahead and have a pinpoint there. And then, again, it can be updated later on if we need to update it. We'll credit it for Piccadilly for now. And we will go ahead and move on with the episode. By the way, here's London. So London's already got a couple of, well, just 2 pinpoints so far in Season 1.
This is the Peugeot RC, possibly the world's first proper diesel sports car. And since there's only one in existence, Peugeot were a little nervous about the Stig having a play. So they sent down their own man, Richard Burns. The RC has all the...
I see now, I am a Top Gear purist, and I want to keep this series as like a Top Gear purist series. I don't like the fact that Peugeot brought a car, a concept car, granted, but they brought a car and then did not let any of the presenters drive it, not even the Stig. Well, specifically, the Stig was not allowed to drive it. I am going to add it in the list, and as far as car companies that are featured and cars that are featured, I am going to add it in the list because it does get its own separate segment, and you do have one of the presenters talking in it. But again, I'm trying to. If this is the first time you're watching these, I'm trying to create a list. I want a long list, or a long tally of the amount of times that each car company is featured in an episode of Top Gear. Now, the question is does Peugeot get to be included in that? Because all that happened was they brought a concept car and they let one of their own test drivers drive it. They didn't let one of the presenters drive it. The main thing is that it had its own segment. It was like its own thing that was filmed specifically for this episode. And it has to be kind of like a separated segment that's specifically for the episode. It can't just be like one shot where like somebody like almost like a stock image type, well, a stock video of a car. It can't just be like that and they mention it during the news. That doesn't count. So that in that situation, the Peugeot, it was brought to the Top Gear test track and it did have its own little segment. One of the presenters did not drive it, but I'll overlook it for that, and we'll add that to the Peugeot tally. Now they're going to have what's called a Ford Think. This is quite a sad-looking little car. I think this is an all-electric car, and they're going to have it race Dawe.
Now, the thing can do 0 to 30 in 7 seconds. But you can have problems, particularly if you use the electrical Now, Jason by now is way behind, but look what's happening. It's running out of steam. Oh, my word, it's stopped! And the giant Galapagos tortoise is past and across the line!
I'm sure you're all aware, but Top Gear notoriously has always hated electric cars. And I think James is definitely more open to them than the other two, especially while Top Gear was being made. But Clarkson for sure always hated electric cars, and I believe to this day he still hates them. I think Hammond might be a little bit more open to them, and then of course I think May has a Tesla. I don't know about Dawe, but I know for a fact Clarkson never liked electric cars, still doesn't like them. He hates the idea of them, and I can understand that. I mean, I have driven an electric car once, and it was quite fast. It was like a sports performance package one. It was the Mustang Mach-E, which that's a whole nother discussion, the fact that thing is called a Mustang. But the guy who owns it, he let me drive it. It had I forgot what it was called, but it had a performance package, and it was very fast. It was pretty exhilarating, but it is hard to get used to. Like, it's just so quiet. Like, you almost expect that noise. You almost want that noise, and I think Clarkson is more on that team, where he wants to put his foot down and he wants to hear that loud. And when you have an electric car, it's you don't get that rough engine noise. You just get almost like a little. So yeah, times are changing.
And finally, a TVR Tuscan.
So this is an interesting segment. There's a lot of juicy cars in this little part. So he's got a Ferrari, he's got a Pagani, he's got a GTR Skyline, and he's got what was the other one? And a TVR. So he's got this juicy selection of sports cars, but all he does in this segment is he just shows the kids. I mean, I get the idea of this segment, but Dawe never technically drives them. Like, I just watched this whole thing. Okay, he revs the engine.
Excellent. So, Jason, did any of those children go on about the environment at all?
No, you see, the thing is...
Yeah, so Dawe never drove any of them, at least not on camera. So I'm not going to add those. I'm not going to add those to the list because, nor will I try to find out where that school is. I feel like that school, if we had gotten the name, it would have been pretty easy to find. But I'm not going to add the 4 different car companies. Well, I guess the 5 different car companies with the Lambo at the end. I'm not going to add them to the list because they're never driven. Like, they're never reviewed. There's no mounted camera or anything. So I'm not going to add those to the list. We're going to keep on moving.
The letter of the law perfectly, but the spirit? No, not even slightly.
I have to be honest. I did not remember that Clarkson reviewed a Lotus Elise in season 1. I thought he didn't do that till like season 5 or 6, because he reviews a yellow one, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or maybe I'm thinking of something else. But so Clarkson is reviewing a Lotus Elise. What is it? A Lotus Elise 111S, and we can already see off the bat, we've got the big lines in the road. We've got the notorious aircraft hangar buildings in the background. We're at the top of your test track. So there's nothing to add with this either. We will continue on. I think that will do it for this episode 7. We will see you again in a week. Take care. Good night.